Okay, so welcome back, my dear students. So, today we are going to start with another chapter, which is Solutions of Chemistry 1. And yes, so take your notebook and pen because you'll have to write the notes, and I have made notes very easy for you so that you can learn everything very easily. So, let's start with the next chapter, which is Solutions. And I hope everyone knows what solution exactly is about. So basically, solutions is mixing two substances together and forming a solution. As in the picture, you can see these all are the solutions. So solutions are basically in liquid form. So we are going to study about that. So here is the introduction about the chapter. So substances are mostly mixtures, two or more in the pure form. Okay, right side in the diagram, as you can see. Okay, let me turn on the pointer here. See all these diagrams, as you can see, these all are the mixtures. These are not the purest form, but mixing two or more purest form forms a mixture. For example, brass, it is copper plus zinc, and bronze, it is copper plus tin. Okay, here is a two example of that which you use in the daily life. And you have already studied about the mixture in your school in the science subject, where you used to learn that the example of bhel, where you mix two substances together and eat, that is known as mixture. Okay, so the second point is injections are dissolved in water containing salts at ionic concentration to match the plasma concentrations. Okay, so here is the example of injections also which doctors use, and what they do, they dissolve in water containing salts. Okay, so injections are basically dissolved in water and exactly at an ionic concentration, like where the ions are there, so that they can match the plasma and they can inject inside your body. Like you can't directly inject everything inside your body, you need to balance it out first, and for that you need to create a mixture of water and salts. Okay, so that is what exactly injection is about. The third point is this chapter is about liquid solutions, and we will study about the properties like vapor pressure and colligative properties. So in short, this chapter is all about liquid solutions. Like the first chapter we studied about solids, and in that we saw everything regarding solids, like how solids are formed and what the properties they possess and what are the forces they have in between them, also the packing efficiency and everything. So this chapter is all about liquids, and we are going to study about that and the properties like the vapor pressure and colligative properties, all that. Okay, so proceeding to types of solutions. So solutions basically are of two types. One is homogeneous and heterogeneous. Solutions are homogeneous mixtures of two or more substances. So first is homogeneous. What do you mean by homo? Homo means same and hetero means different. Okay, so solution is only formed when you mix two or more substances which are homogeneous. Homo means same. Okay, if you're mixing two heterogeneous, solution won't be formed. So component present in larger quantity are solvent, and component present in lesser quantities are solute. So I'm giving example about salt and water. For example, you're mixing salt into water and you're making a salt water solution. So here salt is the solute which is in lower quantity, whereas water is a solvent which is in a larger quantity. So solutes and solvents. So basically solutes is salt which is present in lower quantity, and solvent is water which is present in larger quantity. When these two they combine, they form solutions. Okay, so here is component 1, component 2, and what are the solution you get? Component as in either they are solute or solvent and they form the solution. So for example, if you're mixing two gas together, you will get air. Okay, then gas and liquid, you will get, like the example of gas and liquid is carbon dioxide in water. Then here carbon dioxide is solute and water is a solvent. Same way gas and solid. So H, hydrogen in palladium. Okay, hydrogen is a gas and palladium is a solid. So basically hydrogen is found on the surface of palladium. Then example of liquid and liquid is ethanol and water. Here you need to correct the spelling. It's ethanol. Okay, so ethanol, we mix ethanol in water, which is ethyl alcohol. Then next example is solid and liquid, and here the example is salt in water or sugar in water, which is the most common example. Then solid and solid. So here steel, like iron plus copper, iron plus carbon, and then copper plus tin. Okay, this is the example of brass, and this is the example of steel. So like when you're mixing two substances together, you're forming a mixture. And these all are the examples, like one example of gas, one example gas liquid, one example gas solid. Then example of liquid and solid liquid, and last example is of solid. Okay, so this was about types of solutions. Now the next is expressing concentrations of solutions. So here you these all are the formulas, and you need to learn these formulas by heart, because you will have to um, like you will require to put all these formulas and the problems when you will solve it. So you will have to know all the basic terms, and you will have to put it in the problems for the solutions. Okay, so here are the few formulas. So it's all about the concentration of solution. So we are expressing solutions in various concentrations. Okay, you might have heard that when you go out to buy a milk, you buy it in liters and all that. Okay, so you basically have some terms which you indicated for the concentrations. So here it is. Composition can be expressed in concentration either qualitatively or quantitatively. So basically the composition of a mixture is expressed in terms of concentration either qualitatively, means either you tell it by the quality or by the quantity, which is numbers. So ways to describe the concentrations are, the first one is mass percentage, which is also known as W by W. So mass, everyone knows mass is the weight, and how to find the mass percentage, the formula of it is mass percentage is mass of the component of the solution divided by total mass multiplied by 100. Okay, so whatever is the mass of the solution, like component, for example, if you want to know the mass of salt in, okay, example is here, you will understand that what the formulas is all about. So for example, 10% glucose in water by mass means 10 gram of glucose is dissolved in 90 gram of water, which is 100 gram of solution. Okay, so here what do you mean by 10% of glucose? When I am telling you that 10% of glucose is there in water, so what do you mean by that? It means that there is 10 gram of glucose which is dissolved in 90 gram of water. So in total it makes 100 gram of the solution. So that's what mass percentage is all about. So it gives you the total percentage. Then the next one is volume percentage, which is known as V by V. Okay, so volume of the component divided by total volume of the solution. It is the same as the first one, like W by W. This one is V by V. Example is 10% ethanol solution in water means that 10 ml of ethanol is dissolved in water such that the total volume is 100%. Okay, so what if I say you that 10% ethanol solution is in water in terms of volume? Okay, here I was talking about the terms of mass. So we always talk about mass in grams, but this is about the solution, about the water. So we are talking in terms of liter, so this is milliliter. So it means that 10 ml of ethanol is dissolved in water such that the total volume is 100%. Okay, so here 10% is 10 ml. Here 10% of glucose was 10 gram. Okay, then the third is mass of volume percentage, W by V. Okay, so we already studied that mass percentage was, the term is known as W, and volume percentage is, it is known as V. So here volume percentage, mass by volume, like we are combining these two together. So W by V is equal to mass of the solute dissolved in 100 ml solution. So here we are dissolving mass, means whatever weight it is, 10 gram, 20 gram, whatever. we are dissolving it in 100 ml of solution. Like I'm dissolving 10 gram of glucose in 100 ml of solution. Okay, here it was 10 gram dissolved in 90 gram, and here it was 10 ml. Like, but here we are combining, like in total, for example, I'm dissolving 10 gram of solute in 100 ml of solution. Okay, for example, I'm dissolving 10 gram of salt in 100 ml of solution. Okay, then next is parts per million. So parts per million means number of parts of the component divided by total number of parts of all components of solution multiplied by 10 raised to 6. Okay, so what does it mean? That number of parts of the component, here we are talking in terms of parts. Okay, minute parts, we're talking about that, because as you can see that here the it is multiplied to 10 raised to 6. So we are talking about the minute parts. So here number of parts of the component divided by total number of parts of the component of solution, like the entire solution, like that particular part divided by the entire solution. So for example, liter of sea water, 1 liter of sea water contains about 6 into 10 raised to minus 3 gram of oxygen. Okay, now imagine that a sea water is containing 6 into 10 raised to minus 3 gram of oxygen, which is very minute. Such small concentrations are also expressed as 5.8 gram per 10 raised to 6 gram, which is known as parts per million, ppm of seawater. Okay, so whenever we are expressing very minute terms, we usually express it in terms of parts per million. Like uh, if the solvent is very large and the solute is very low, we express it in terms of ppm. As you can see the example here, that oxygen is in very minute amount in 1 liter of seawater, so we express it as ppm. So the concentration of pollutants in atmosphere and sea are often expressed as microgram per milliliter, okay, or parts per million. Then the next is mole fraction. Mole fraction means we are talking about moles or molecules, you can say. So it is number of moles of the component divided by total number of moles of all the components. Okay, like one particular component, for example A, divided by total number of moles of all the components. Example is, in a binary mixture, binary means two mixture, the number of moles of A and B are Na plus Nb, Na and Nb respectively. So the mole fraction will be like this. Okay, so mole fraction of A will be, it is expressed as X, mole fraction is expressed as small x. So Xa is equal to number of moles of A divided by number of moles of A plus number of moles of B. Same for mole fraction of B is equal to, like it is Xb is equal to number of moles of B divided by number of moles of A plus number of moles of B. So like that, this is the total component and this is the particular component. So for a solution containing I number of components, for example, like we were studying about A and B, now here it is containing I number of components, we have Xi is equal to, so Xi divided by N1 plus N2 till it goes on till Ni. So we in short write it as Ni divided by summation of Ni. Okay, which means total number of components, which in short is known as summation of Ni. So this sign is known as summation. The sum of all fractions is unity. So but whatever be the problem or whatever be the numbers of this, the answer you will get, it will be in unity. X plus x1 plus x2 gives you unity. Whatever, you just try solving the problems of this type of formula, and then you will realize that at the end when you will find the answer, it always turns out to be 1, or it will be approximately 1. Okay, so mole fraction are useful to know the physical properties of gaseous mixtures. So here we are using mole fraction to know the physical properties, okay, like the properties which we can see with the naked eye. So those type of properties are known by mole fractions. Next is molarity. Molarity means moles of a solute divided by volume of solution in liter. Okay, now this is the very common terms, molarity and molality. So here molarity is usually formulated as capital M. So it means moles of solute, like whatever be the number of moles of solute, means how many molecules. For example, If H2O means hydrogen is 1 and oxygen is 16, so in total H2O you combine 16 plus 2 and that will be in total 18. So that is moles of solute, and divide by volume of solution in liter, whatever, for example it is 1 liter, 2 liter, 3 liter. So that will be the total volume. You have to multiply it and then you have to find out the molarity. So for example 0.25 mole per liter of solution of NaOH means 0.25 mole of NaOH is dissolved in 1 liter of a solution. Okay, from these entire, so this is the unit, and the this means 0.25 means 0.25 mole of NaOH I am dissolving in per liter of the solution. So that's a molarity. The last formula is molality. Molality is denoted by small m, whereas molarity as capital M. So now molality is equal to moles of solute divided by mass of solvent in kg. Here the difference is, like in this one we studied moles of solute divided by volume of solution in liter, whereas here it is mass of solvent in kg. So we are considering mass here, like the weight, actual weight in kilograms, and here we are considering it in liter or milliliter types. Okay, so the example is 1 mole per kilogram. So see, here it was liter, so it was written as mole per liter, whereas here we are considering mass, which is in kg, so we are writing the unit as per kg. So 1 mole per kg solution of KCl means that 1 mole, which is 74.5 gram, so that's a number of solute, like that's a molecular number of KCl. Okay, means that 1 mole 74.5 gram of KCl is dissolved in 1 kilogram of water. Okay, so here we are taking both the term as grams and kilograms, whereas here we were taking it as in terms of liters or milliliters. Okay, so these are the 7 formulas which you should know by heart, and the entire problems is based on these formulas, so you need to learn it. Proceeding to the next topic, which is about solubility. Now till now we were studying about the formulas of expressing the concentrations. Now we will study about the solubility of a solution, like how they are getting mixed up. So maximum amount of substance that can be dissolved in a specified amount of solvent. So what is solubility? Solubility means we always use the term soluble, this thing is soluble in that. Okay, so solubility means what, like the maximum amount of substance. Like we know when we dissolve sugar in water, the sugar gets dissolved in water, so we say that it is soluble, like sugar is soluble in water. So that's what exactly solubility is all about. It means that the maximum amount of substance, like you can't say that it is 100% getting mixed up, but the maximum amount of substance is getting mixed up. So that's what is solubility. Okay, it depends upon the natures of the solute and solvent as well as temperature and pressure. So it depends upon 4 things. One is nature of the solute, like which is the smaller. For again I'm telling example of salt and water. So here solute is a salt and solvent is the water. So it will depend upon the nature of the salt as well as upon the nature of the solvent, plus it will depend upon whatever temperature you are putting and whatever pressure you are putting. For example, I will tell you that if you're warming the water and you are adding salt in it, the salt will be mixing up very fast, whereas if you are taking a normal water and you are trying to mix it up, it will mix up but it will take some time. So that's what the nature is all about, and sorry, that's what it is about temperature. And we will be studying about pressure further. That was just a basic example I gave you. And regarding the natures of the solute and solvent, so I will tell you that what do you mean by nature. It means that for example you are having salt which is like larger in size or in cube, so bigger size, so it will take time. So that it is about nature. Like if you are having salt which is very fine and you are trying to dissolve it, so it will mix up very rapidly. So that's what it is about. Then considering the effects in solution of solids or gas and liquids, we are going to study about 2 types of solubility, and it is based on the effects in solution of solids or gas in a liquid. Like we are going to study about the effect of solid in a liquid and gas in a liquid. Okay, so what happens when we are going to mix solid with liquid and when we are going to mix gas with liquid, like how their properties changes, like if we are increasing the temperature or decreasing the temperature of solid, and same way if we are increasing or decreasing the temperature, pressure or temperature of gas. So first we are going to study about solubility of a solid in liquid. Okay, every solid does not dissolve in liquid, that we know very well. Like if you will try to dissolve soil in water, it won't mix up, it won't get dissolved. And if you're going to if you're trying to mix salt or sugar in water, it will mix up. So we basically know that not every solid dissolves in water or liquid. So salt and the next example here is salt and sugar dissolves in water, whereas naphthalene and anthracene don't. Okay, so if you are going to try to dissolve these two products into the water, it won't get dissolved, but they will dissolve in benzene, whereas salt and sugar don't. Okay, so naphthalene and anthracene are going will get dissolved in benzene, whereas salt and sugar won't. And vice versa, if you will see, salt and sugar will get dissolved in water, whereas naphthalene and anthracene won't. Then polar solutes dissolve in polar solvent, and non-polar solutes dissolve in non-polar solvents. So this is basically all about like dissolves like, which means that if it is polar, it will only get dissolved in polar solvent, and if it is non-polar, it will get dissolved in non-polar solvents. And I think so you are pretty much clear with the term polar and non-polar, as we have studied about it in the previous chapter. Okay, then next is adding solutes increases the concentration of the solution, known as dissolution. Now there's this term dissolution which you should be knowing about. What do you mean by dissolution? So adding solutes increases the concentration of the solution. Now for example, you are taking excess amount of salt and trying to dissolve in water, so it will increase the concentration. For example, I have taken a water and I'm trying to dissolve little salt in that, and that salt is in very little amount, and if you're trying to drink that salt water, you will feel that the water is not that much salty. But if you will add more and more salt in it, then what will happen, the taste of the water will become more and more salty. So that's what exactly concentration is known as, and this thing is known as dissolution. Okay, some solute particles collide with solid particles of the solution and separates out, known as crystallization. Now this is another term which you should know about. What is crystallization? Now here some solute particles collide. Now for example, the particles of salt, it collides means they both hit up against each other. It collide with solid particle of solution. Like for example, I'm taking water and I'm taking salt. So here the particle of salt and the particle of water, they both collide with each other and they separate out, and this process is known as crystallization. See, I'll show you the diagram here. Okay, so this is the diagram. So basically it's a solution. You can see what the solution is all about. Solvent plus solute gives you a solution, and here is the example. This thing is crystallization. Now here look from the diagram, you can see that this is the medicine which we add into the water, and we try to drink the medicine in the water and see how the medicine gets dissolved in the water. And here this is the process of crystallization. See how it happens. It looks so beautiful. The crystals look so beautiful. You can see it here, how they forms. The salt crystals are exactly the same. So that's the process of crystallization. Like after colliding, they separate out, and that's crystallization is all about. Okay, coming back. At some point, both the process occurs simultaneously and dynamic equilibrium is reached. Means what the process means? The process of dissolution as well as the process of crystallization. Like dissolution means, what did we study about dissolution? The solutes increases the concentration of the solution. So dissolution means if you keep on adding solute, that is known as dissolution, and the solutes move out, that is crystallization. So when this process occurs simultaneously, like together, an equilibrium point is reached. Equilibrium is equal state. Okay, so that's known as dynamic equilibrium, and here it is known as solute plus solvent gives you solution. and this double arrow head sign means either solution will get converted back into solute plus solvent. It means, for example, I'm giving you example of salt water. Here solute is a salt and solvent is a water, and this is salt water, for example, the solution. So what happens if it goes in the reverse direction? Means if this arrow comes, it means that it can proceed in the forward as well as it can proceed in the backward direction. So here the solute and the salt. So when I am trying to separate the solution of the salt water, what happens? I will find the solute as a salt and the solvent as a water. So that's what is known as dynamic equilibrium. Okay, so concentration remains constant at this given stage, that is temperature and pressure. So here the concentration remains same, either you increase or decrease the temperature or you increase or decrease the pressure, the concentration won't change, it will be as it is. Similar process is for liquid and gas. Now this process goes for liquid also and gas. Okay, we were studying about in uh, solid in a liquid. Now again, if you will check out for liquid and gas, the process is same. A solution in which no more solute can be dissolved at a given temperature or pressure is known as saturated solution. Okay, so you become very familiar with the short forms which I use. This is temperature and this is pressure. Okay, it's known as saturated solution. So what exactly, again one more term, which is saturated. So what is the saturation? You might have heard about the word saturation. So what exactly is saturation? So saturation basically means a solution in which no more solute can be dissolved. Okay, like even though, for example, again I'm taking of salt water, you added salt in water, but there will be a point when if you will add salt water, the salt won't dissolve anymore, and you will find that the salt is gathered at the base, means the salt will be left out. Okay, so that particular point when no more salt get dissolved in water, that is known as saturated solution. Okay, so I will just tell you exactly why this happens, because for forming a solution you need the exact amount of solvent and salt, like they both should have connection, like they both should be connected to each other, and that when that connection finishes up, the solute will be left out. Like whatever you keep on adding, it will be left out, it won't get a mixture anymore. Like you might be thinking that how is that possible when I am telling you that the salt always gets mixed up, why this happen? So you should know that for mixing two things together, you should have the solvent plus the solute bonding with each other, and when every of the solvent particle is bonded with every of the solute particle and none is left out, so here a saturation point is reached, and from here onwards none of the solute will be added anymore. Okay, so the same opposite of saturation is unsaturation. So this is unsaturated solution is one in which you can still dissolve the solute at same temperature. So now what is unsaturated solute? Like I am dissolving the solute and it keeps on dissolving, so that solution I will call it as unsaturated solution. Okay, so here solubility depends on nature of the substance and also on the following. Now solubility depends on two types, as we know. One is very important temperature and other is very important pressure. Okay, so solubility depends upon temperature. As I told you before, that if suppose you are taking a warm water and you are taking a salt and you're trying to mix it up, it will mix up very rapidly. Okay, so this means if when you are increasing the temperature, the solubility increases. So remember the basic example, you will understand all the terms very easily. So consider the equilibrium. Solute plus solvent gives you solution. This should follow Le-Chatelier's principle. If endothermic, the solubility should increase the temperature. Solubility should increase with increasing temperature. If exothermic, the solubility should decrease with increasing temperature. So first of all, what do you mean by endothermic and what do you mean by exothermic? So endothermic means what? When you mix two things, then it become the okay, when you will be doing the experiment in the laboratory, you will find that when you're mixing two solutions, like when you're mixing two things together and forming a solution, and you go and touch the beaker, that time you will feel that the beaker is cold. So this means when you find the beaker cold at at a normal temperature, this means that the solution is endothermic. Whereas, for example, you did some kind of reaction and you go and touch the beaker and you find that the beaker is hot. So that type of solution is that type of solution is known as exothermic solution, okay, or it is known as uh, exothermic reaction in sorry that's known as exothermic reaction, okay. So exothermic reaction basically is where the heat is released, whereas endothermic reaction is basically where the heat is absorbed, okay. So if endothermic means if there is an endothermic reaction, the solubility should increase with increase in temperature. Like if you're mixing two things together and it is absorbing heat, then it should solubility should increase. For example, just now I gave you regarding the salt and water. If the water is warm and we're adding salt in that, so here the solubility will increase, okay. And whereas if it is exothermic, the solubility will decrease if you increase the temperature, okay. So the next part is effect of pressure. So what is the effect of pressure? Pressure means there's an external force you apply, okay. You know the term pressure. So what happens when you apply the pressure? So pressure does not have any effect on solids and liquids because they are highly incompressible, okay. So pressure is only a relative of gas because we can only expand or contract gas, so and we can only compress or expand gas, so that's why there is no effect of pressure in these type of solubility like in the solubility of solid in liquid. So this is all about that's what was the example all about, okay. Coming to the next point, which is solubility of a gas in a liquid, okay. So what is solubility of a gas in a liquid? We are going to talk about the gas, and here you know that just now I told you that pressure is a relative, so pressure is very much effective in the solubility of this. So many gases dissolve in water. Oxygen dissolves only in little amount in water, whereas HCl is highly soluble in water. So many gases they dissolve in water. As you know, water has many gases. Like if you will see sea water or any water, particularly, it contains many gases in it. And don't always feel that water only has oxygen. In fact, water has many gases in it, but they have little amount of oxygen dissolved in that. Whereas if we will see hydrochloric, okay, hydrochloric acid is very much soluble in water. Solubility of gas is hydrochloric acid or hydrochloric gas is very much soluble in water. So solubility of a gas is greatly affected by pressure and temperature, okay. Here gas is very much affected if you are increasing or decreasing the pressure or increasing or decreasing the temperature. So solubility is affected by both of these types, and solubility increases when increase in pressure, as we know. Just now we studied that if I'm going to apply too much of pressure, look at the diagram in here, like you can see I am applying the pressure here. So if I when the pressure is not applied, you can see the molecules here, the gaseous molecule, they are on the upper side, they are not dissolving much in the liquid. This is the liquid. Whereas here you can see when I'm applying the pressure, here this is the liquid, like this is a solvent, and these are the gases, they are dissolving in the water, okay. So if you are increasing the pressure from outside, your solubility will increase. And I will just give you the basic example of that: coke, which is coke. So in coke, what do you do? In coke, what happens generally? uh, CO2 is there. Everyone knows that it is having carbon dioxide, it is having carbon inside a coke, and it doesn't get dissolved easily. So for dissolving coke, for dissolving carbon dioxide, we apply the pressure, which is lid, okay. Because as you open the top of coke, you can see that it comes out very rapidly of the bottle, okay. You can see the effervescence. So yes, that is one of the example, basic example. See, now just don't keep on looking at the kid. Here you can see how she opens it and all this. Coke comes out. Okay, I just hope you don't keep on staring at her. Okay, then the lower part of the solution and the upper part is gaseous system at pressure P and T. In a dynamic equilibrium state, the gaseous particle leaving and entering is same. So when the equilibrium state is reached, like the solute and the solvent, they are almost the same. So what happened? The particle are leaving and entering, they both are the same. Increasing the pressure will increase the number of particles in the solution and also the rate at which they are striking each other. Okay, so what happens? Pressure increasing the, basically just remember that increasing the pressure will increase everything. Okay, it will increase the number of particles of the solution and also the rate at which they are striking each other. Like just now we studied what happens when they strike each other. So when they strike each other, the process of crystallization happens, that we know very well now. The same thing, when you're increasing the pressure, it will increase the number of particles of the solution. Okay, and also the rate at which they are striking each other. So solubility of the gas increases by this. Now here, Henry was the first to show the relationship between pressure and solubility of a gas in a solvent. So there's a scientist named as Henry. He was the first one to show that there is a relationship between pressure and solubility of gas. Like he was the first one to say that pressure is a very much relative of gas. Okay. So Henry's law is the solubility of a gas in a liquid is directly proportional to the partial pressure of a gas present above the surface of the liquid of solution or solution. Like the solubility of a gas in a liquid is what? The solubility of a gas in a liquid. Like you are trying to mix the gas in a liquid, it is directly proportional to the partial pressure of the gas. Like solubility, just in short, remember, like the solubility depends upon whatever the external pressure you are applying to the solution. Okay, like if you apply more pressure, it will be more soluble. Now Dalton, another scientist, also quoted the same. If we use a mole fraction, then mole fraction of a gas in the solution is proportional to the partial pressure of the gas over the solution. For example, you are using the mole fraction. We just now studied about the formula of a mole fraction. So if we use the mole fraction, then the same thing, it just gets replaced with mole fraction. Then the mole fraction of the gas in the solution, it is proportional to the partial pressure. Okay, the most commonly used form of Henry's law. Now where Henry's law exactly is used, the partial pressure of the gas in the vapor phase is proportional to the mole fraction of gas in the solution. Now another form which we use about Henry's law is that the partial pressure of a gas in the vapor phase, like we are using the gas in the vapor phase. Okay, everyone knows what vapor is all about. It is proportional to the mole fraction of the gas in the solution. Like whatever the number of moles in the is of the gas is in the solution, so it is proportional to partial pressure. Now here P is equal to KHX, where KH is Henry's law. P is for pressure, okay, and X is the mole fraction. Higher the value of KH, lower the solubility of gas in the solution. KH means Henry's law. So higher the value of Henry's law, lower is the solubility of gas in the liquid. Like we know what Henry's law is all about, directly proportional to partial pressure of the gas. Okay, solubility of a gas increases with decrease in temperature. That's why aquatic life is more comfortable in cold water than in warm water. So solubility of gas increases with decrease in temperature. And now here solubility of gas increases with decrease in temperature. Okay, we studied that when you increase the pressure, the solubility increases, but it is opposite for temperature. When you are increasing the temperature, the solubility will decrease. Okay, if you are keeping the temperature warm, the gas won't get dissolved much, and if you are keeping the temperature normal, the gas will be dissolved much. So that's why aquatic life is more comfortable in warm cold water than in warm water. Okay, because they have oxygen to breathe in it. Henry's law application in industry. So one of the example is, just now we studied about the Coke, to increase the solubility of CO2 in soft drinks by increasing the pressure of the seal. Okay, then the next example is, you can see this scuba diving. Okay, scuba divers must cope with high concentration of dissolved gases while breathing. Okay, so these are the scuba divers. Everyone knows what scuba divers do. Okay, so they need this pump for breathing, and they must cope with the very high concentration of dissolved gases while breathing. Um, so there are very high concentration of gases, so they should know how to breathe. Okay. Increasing pressure increases the solubility of a gas, we know that. And this tank they carry, that is an oxygen tank. At high altitudes, partial pressure of oxygen is less, so this is all about high altitudes where the partial pressure of oxygen is less. That's why people living high feel weak because of low oxygen content. So people who stay at higher altitudes, you can see at the mountainside areas, they feel weak just because they have very less amount of oxygen. Okay. The next is effect of temperature. Solubility decrease with increasing temperature. We just now studied that the solubility will decrease. Like if you make the water warm, like if you're trying to boil the water and you're trying to mix any of the gases in it, none of the gas will get mixed up. Okay. So solubility decreases with increase in temperature. So that's what it was all about. I hope you enjoyed my lesson, and I'll be continuing with the part 2. Sorry for the delayed upload. I just got a little bit busy, but I'll be uploading all the next parts very soon, so stay tuned to my channel so that you can learn easily even in this lockdown, and it will be easy for you, and I'm working very hard to create all the notes for you. So please don't let it go waste. You just make the most of it, and do subscribe to my channel for learning chemistry, and also like and also comment if you have any sort of issues or any sort of problems, or if you don't understand any part, you just comment. Okay. So I'll be uploading part 2 very soon. So till then, study the part which I have already started. Okay, thank you, bye.